is the guy that coaches him, the guy that coaches them, and the guy that coached Michigan to his first victory down in Columbus since 2003. Wow. John Beilein. Coach B, how you doing this morning?
Good morning. I'm sorry about being late here. Just got caught up with some Wisconsin film and forgot all about it.
Hey, Coach A, man, it's you talk about reasons to be late. That's a great one. Getting ready for Wisconsin. But let's go back to Ohio State just for a moment, and then we'll talk talk about the team that you're about to play. Man, Coach, when you go down to Columbus, you're playing the team. You're playing the crowd too, and when you look at coming off that Iowa game and how that game went down, how teams are defending you, there was a lot against you heading into Columbus. So mindset wise, because I know that seemed to be a huge point of emphasis for you pregame as we watch what you had to say. You seem to really focus on mindset.
Yeah, there's a time in the game. It's not about the X's and the O's. It's really about having this mindset that you're just going to win the game. You're going to find ways to make things happen. You're not going to wait for the next play to be drawn up or the adjustment at halftime. You're going to fight through adversity and just get it done. You know, we could talk forever about how you're going to get through a screen, which side you go on, your angles. No, just get through the darn screen, or just how you get open, get open. You know, and it was just ideas like that we wanted to instill in them so that they could. You know, the whole idea is willpower is more powerful than any diagram, and this is going to be the difficult one. It was as loud as I ever remember it being there in going to Columbus at the beginning of the game. So it was. We came out, and I said the other day, I don't think you ever get used to that. I think when we got hit by the Iowa noise and we've been through that before. Now, just any of our listeners, anybody, step on that course sometime at 19 years old and have 17,000 people screaming at you, and it takes a while in the game to get used to it. And once we got used to it, we were much better.
Derek Walton certainly got used to it, and we'll build up to him. I want to come back to him because I want to start. You said it's not always about the plays that you dial up, and that may be true, but you certainly are dialing things up for Nick. And then at the same time, you're encouraging him just to take some shots that other guys might not be able to take. Again, talking about mindset, and you really seem to, that first shot he hit, he comes down the court, and you step out of the box a little bit and give him some encouragement in the form of a little five there. Just what about Nick in that game?
Yeah, he can't be afraid to miss, and that's a great way. You look at some of our he had turned down in some games shots. It's virtually the same shots that he had hit against Wisconsin, Michigan State, where he's open, and he's not. Maybe I don't say, hey, listen, I want player B to take this shot. But Nick can make those shots, and he's got to be more aggressive looking for ones instead of waiting for something to just happen. We have to find spontaneous ways to score, and I'm encouraging him to do that today. You know, when you're in your range and you can see the basket, you got to take some of those shots to make them respect you and come up on you so that then you can go by them as well.
Well, Coach, we spent a lot of time focusing on Nick, and understandably so. When we talked last time, you said, hey, it's on us to draw up some things for him. It's on him to work a little bit harder, and he said the same thing. And so I understand why we had that emphasis. But another piece of this that I kind of want you to talk about is teams basically saying, hey, you know what, the five-man for Michigan isn't really going to be much of a factor against us, and teams kind of daring that spot to hurt them. And in that game against Ohio State, you saw your five men, whether it was Jordan, Morgan, or John, be it scoring or on the boards, they were much more active in that game, it seemed.
Well, when they have that attitude, which is that we're going to help off our five man, what it does gives them positioning off the ball to be able to what we call a wedge, to be able to get in and rebound, while they're over giving help. So Jordan just did an exceptional job of doing that, of finishing. I mean, his 6 offensive rebounds were terrific. And while Ohio State probably isn't rebounding at the level they have in the past, at the same time, it was just we have to get extra possessions. We don't create them through turnovers. And we need to get them somehow through offensive rebounds. As a result, that was really big for us to get, and Glenn had some as well to get extra possessions. So those two can do that, and then they had some really nice finishes and some tough catches. The pick and roll, their defense is good, and they had to make quick catches and finishes. John did a wonderful job of that.
We're talking to John Beilein this morning here on the Michigan Insider, Sports Talk 1050 WTKA, online at WTKA.com. One of the big factors in your team sustaining its level of success is how well you guys are growing Derek Walton up, and give him a ton of credit for growing up himself. But I just feel like, Coach, all season he's been a guy who's played with a level of maturity beyond a freshman. That doesn't mean he didn't have work to do, but he's been a pretty mature guy. But certainly after the Michigan State game especially, I just feel like his presence, his attitude on the floor is more noticeable, and it certainly was more noticeable in the second half of that game against Ohio State.
Well, I think we understand this because we talk about it every week. The game just keeps getting slowed down for him, but every team is going to play you differently, and you don't have a week to study it. You have sometimes, besides your regular studies, you have to do what you can do to understand that, all right, now this is going to be completely different angles. They're going to play our offense, or they're going to play residual ball screens, completely different angles. And so if you do what you just did the other day against Iowa, you'll be in trouble. So you'll never go anywhere. So this is Iowa, Wisconsin, Iowa, and Ohio State could not. They all play it uniquely different from each other. And so you go from one game to another game. It's like a quarterback, but I think a quarterback has a week to study it, and we do not. And then they could change in the middle of the game. So in a flow sport, you have to wait for the next time out, and then you got 30 seconds, and then a coach calls time out, you get 30 seconds to talk about it. So it's very important that he has a sharp learning curve, and there's been many times this year he's been absolutely terrific. It's just playing ball, seeing what they have, and then attacking.
Yeah, he said something after the game that I thought was really, kind of informative and insightful. He said, I'm feeling more comfortable speaking up or saying something in times of adversity. That's just the natural arc of being a freshman, right? Even if you're a point guard, it's going to take you some time to feel comfortable telling the older guys what they should do. Yeah,
the older guys that are a whole year older than him, but it is really leadership. And he's a natural leader, Sam. He is a natural leader, but and so is Zach Irvin. Both of them are natural leaders. But it just, when Stu and Zach were freshmen, and Manny and Deshaun were juniors and seniors, they sort of looked to them a little bit and looked for that leadership, and didn't speak up quite as much as they did in their later years. Derek reminds me of that he's comfortable leading, although he doesn't have to be the out front guy.
Yeah, you mentioned Zach Irvin, and I certainly want to give some mention to him before we talk about Wisconsin, Coach. Early in the season we talked about the green light and no conscience coming off the bench, and it was kind of a quip. But hey, that is a major quality for you guys. The fact that he can come off the bench and give you instant offense and do it with more minutes of late. Second consecutive game where he's had over 20 minutes playing.
Yeah. I don't recall. We at West Virginia and Richmond had some of these guys that could come off the bench. I don't recall one coming off the bench like this and just making his first shot consistently. Stu, probably when Stu was our sixth man, did a really good job at this. C.J. Lee did a great job when he was coming off the bench for us. But it's just like a spark off the bench to have him come in there. And each time he's come off the bench, we have both offensively and defensively. With every freshman, there's always work to do. But offensively, he's been a great spark.
All right, so, Coach, we'll close things out. We're talking to Michigan basketball coach John Beilein here on the Michigan Insider on Sports Talk 1050 WTKA, online at WTKA.com. Close things out talking about the upcoming game against Wisconsin. Obviously, you went to the Kohl Center and took care of business. They're going to want to exact revenge, and it's always tougher to win the second time around. So what have you seen from Wisconsin since that game, since the last time you played them?
Well, I haven't watched a whole lot of them. As you can imagine, we've been playing like crazy. So what you're going to see, but I know what we're going to see is the same consistent, solid team that doesn't beat themselves, is going to, when they're shooting the ball well, they're very difficult to defeat. You got to guard them so they don't shoot the ball well, and then their defense is going to be really consistent. And there is parts in that game you just got to make shots, and you got to make guarded shots where there'll be people on you, but you just got to make tough shots. That's their whole idea. Don't give them threes, don't give them layups, make them make tough twos, and that's what we're going to have to do. We did it up at the Kohl Center, and we got to do it here. Otherwise, it's going to be a very difficult game. It's our only plan, and we'll go after it with everything that we have. We'll have a great crowd, and we're honoring Gary Grant to the Hall of Honor the night before. So it's a good weekend. And finally, we're home on weekends. We go for 4 or 5 weeks without a weekend home game, and now we get 4 in a row. So I know our fans are excited about it.
Yeah, and if I understand correctly, you gave the guys the day off today?
Guys finally have a true day off. Because of the 5 games in 13 days. There's really, if you're going to do your same standard prep, you can't take a day off. So we took 2 days off the week before so that we could do it, and now they finally have a day off and very deserved.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Coach. Appreciate your time, and good luck this weekend. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. Thanks, Sam, very much.
All right. That was Michigan basketball coach John Beilein, and his guys have a chance to recharge their batteries before the Sunday matchup. Wisconsin plays tonight versus Minnesota as they try to keep their mini win streak going on, 2 consecutive victories. Beating Illinois isn't much to write home about, but they did beat Michigan State in their last game out, so they're going to try to keep it going against Minnesota.